Welcome to the 10th Annual Student Research and Creative Expo. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Linden. Last year, over 500 students participated in the event, and the atmosphere every year attracts more judges, faculty, and staff. This year, we'll be looking at projects ranging from a device that will plow your driveway to creative idea pitches. Let's send it down to our reporters, Evan Millward and Christy Ludlow, for more.
Oh, thanks, Mike. And you're right. Normally, the Convocation Center is full of student athletes and their fans, but today it's a student athlete of a different kind, I guess you could say. As you can see behind me, they've brought their exhibits, their inventions, all their research here onto the court. It's going to be a great day. Just the kind of atmosphere you'd see out of sporting event.
Definitely. And you know what, Evan? Participants were here setting up super early this morning at 9 a.m. because that's when judging started. And we're going to have a look at a few of those projects in just a little bit live on set. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Evan and Christy. Well, the Expo attracted more than 600 participants this year. This morning, the judges made their rounds from 9 to 11:30, and the doors open to the public when the judging concludes right around 2:30. Students gave a 10-minute presentation to a faculty of judges. First place is awarded $200, while the runner-up is awarded $100. Aside from the main judging, participants can qualify for many other prizes, from regional campuses to the Voinovich School of Leadership and Public Affairs. We'll jump right into the action on the floor. Reporter Tanner Smith is standing by. Tanner, what have you got for us?
Thanks, Mike. I'm here on the Convo floor, checking out what's going on at the Expo, talking to different groups and projects, seeing kind of what's all going on. And this is Derek Maxfield. He's a senior here at Ohio and graphic design major, but not too much design going on here. Tell me about your project.
I made a cupcake cookbook. It's just basically about local sustainable ingredients. Most everything was either bought at the farmer's market or stores around here. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, now you said these cupcakes are seasonal. Tell us kind of what's the thinking behind that?
Basically, you can buy seasonal ingredients at the farmer's market year-round. People think that you can't do it so much in the winter, but you can still get cheeses and other dairy products and meat and any dried or canned or jellied, pickled, anything, and it just gets better in the spring and summer and fall. So, yeah, basically all the ingredients are based on what's seasonal in that time frame.
Okay, now, I gotta ask, why cupcakes? I mean, you probably could have picked any different food, and why cupcakes?
I don't know, because going green was like this fad a few years ago, and now cupcakes are in, so I kind of just thought it was ironic, and I like the juxtaposition of it.
All right, well, we appreciate it. Maybe we'll have a taste test a little bit later to see how they do, but that's going to do it for Derek. We appreciate the interview, my man. And Evan, take it away, man.
Thanks, Tanner. You're going to have a great time out there on the floor. Now, here's an invention I would have liked about 6 months ago when we had all that snow. How many of you also hate plowing the snow from your driveway? I know I sure do. I know Mike does. This invention, a few of you students came up with an idea that's a hands-free snowplow. Reporter Michael Locklear went back out of the sun, hit the slopes, and checked out this autonomous snowplow.
In this springtime demo, the snowplow is moving fake moon rocks, but it has many applications.
Who's going to want to go into that, like burning building or something like that? It's making these robots do things that they can do on their own that we don't have to, because either we don't want to when we're lazy, or because it's dangerous, or that sort of thing.
The snowplow's name is MAX. That stands for Monocular Autonomously Controlled Snowplow. The unique part about it is the autonomous technology.
Pretty much we initialize it. It tells us what it thinks it's doing. If we agree that that's what it's supposed to do, we literally hit the start button and we just back up, and someone holds an emergency stop in case of any accidents, and it drives the whole course, plows the snow.
3, 2, 1, go!
The snowplow competed in January against 4 other schools, including Miami of Ohio. The team shot this video. Max had to plow the course without anybody touching it. It was the only team to complete the task, and OU came out on top.
Who wouldn't want to sit in their driveway when it's freezing outside, like sit inside and not have to plow their driveway? Or who wouldn't want to not have to plow their grass?
Max weighs more than 500 pounds, and its laser maps out obstacles.
Right? It's making a map. So it takes 15 seconds to do that, so it's very precisely scanning with the laser scanner.
The laser scans 360 degrees, and plowing snow is not all Max can do.
Max honestly can do pretty much anything. The way he's set up right now is great because we can take the snowplow off and surround it with weed whackers and do a lawnmower competition, or it's pretty much a box frame with 4 motors that can drive itself if you want it to, so the possibilities are endless.
Sam says it works sort of like Roomba.
With more power and features, Roomba Discovery gets more of the dirt.
That robot that vacuums floors, but she says Max is a bit more complex than Roomba.
All right, and that was Michael Locklear reporting. I'm joined now by one of the students who helped develop this, Matt Miltner. Thanks for being here. Tell me a little bit about where this idea came from.
Basically, the Institute of Navigation put on a competition to have us come out to St. Paul and plow snow autonomously, basically without any input, no remote controls, nothing but the robot itself. So.
All right, and you competed against Miami at that in St. Paul. What was the outcome? Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Oh, we actually competed against 5 other schools. We had Minnesota, Michigan, Dearborn, Dunwoody College of Technology, Wright State, and Miami of Ohio, and ourselves. We won kind of by a landslide, so that was exciting. We pretty much set the bar for what they wanted us to do. A lot of the other groups took different solutions than we did. Ours was the most difficult, but it ended up paying off in the long run.
Hard work does pay off sometimes. Now, plowing snow is not the only thing this thing can do. Tell me a little bit more about what the Max system is capable of.
Basically, it can do whatever you want it to do. It's just a 4-wheeled robot that can drive itself. So right now we have a snow plow on it. Next year we're going to surround it by a bunch of lawn mowing blades and turn it into a lawnmower. There's a 495 group right now that's using it as basically a pack mule. You load it up with weight and it'll follow you around and carry stuff for you. So you can do pretty much anything with it.
That's something I need in my life like every day. You're not going to commercialize it, correct?
No, it's pretty much a research project, at least as of right now. It's up to our professors kind of what they do with it, but for right now we just use it as a different research platform.
Now, you said it cost about $25,000?
As a prototype, if you kind of price out everything, but if we were to actually go into production, it would be a lot cheaper.
Now, you said next year you're going to put blades on it like a lawnmower. Any other changes you're going to make based on the outcomes that you've seen at, here and in St. Paul?
We're going to replace a couple of the motors that were kind of being a pain in the butt during the competition and a couple of the other things, and we're going to go through the coding again and kind of fine-tune it. But other than that, we're pretty happy with how it turned out, and it's pretty much ready to go for next year.
Now, we just opened to the public today here, but what's been the reaction from the public and the judges today?
A lot of people are really interested. We have a live demo. We have the laser spinning up right now, and you can kind of see in real time what the laser sees, so that's kind of exciting. And just how often do you see a giant robot sitting around? So people are really excited about it and like talking about the competition.
All right, Matt Miltner, thanks again. Congratulations on all your hard work. It's an awesome project. Mike, it's one I certainly would like. I'm sure you would too, especially in the winter. You won't even have to leave the porch to plow that driveway.
Of course. What a wonderful idea. Thanks, Evan. So not all the projects here involve robotics. In fact, one group here at the Expo produced a feature-length movie, or feature-length film, rather. It's called The Passageway, and it premieres June 5th at Memorial Auditorium. Let's take a look at the trailer.
So the cancer is back?
Unfortunately, yes. And it has spread to the liver and the lungs.
My mom died of cancer 6 years ago, and we misunderstood her oncologist. We thought her cancer was something we could cure.
She has to want it to work.
The cancer has spread to her brain.
I'm not going to be around here forever to negotiate your fights.
You can't leave me with him.
He's not the bad guy.
If 30 days of radiation means that we don't have to go through this ever again, it seems like the right thing to do.
Would it have killed you to have stood up for me?
I'm sorry.
When the time comes, you'll know what to do.
With us now is the director of the film, David Jeffries, and the producer of the film, Meg Mealy. Thanks for joining us. So take me through a typical day in shooting this film.
Okay, so a typical day kind of started off really early in the morning. The co-directors, Teresa Strebler and I, would start the day with shot listing everything, making sure that everything was ready to go. We'd then caravan out to our set, out in the middle of nowhere, Albany, Ohio. And we would go ahead and set up all of our lights, all of our sound. We'd bring in our actors, kind of clear the space, do a few rehearsals, whatever the scenes would be, go ahead and run the scenes, and then we'd shoot for about a 12-hour day, pack it all up, do it again the next day for about 15 days straight, and then a couple extra days on the side.
Quite a long day. So where did the idea for the film come from?
Well, the original, it started as a play, Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver by Mary Beekler. She's with the School of Theater, and it's actually based off of her own personal experience. She lost both of her parents to cancer, and it was more of her coping process, and she wrote a play about it. And the play has been used for a couple of years now as a teaching tool for students around the country as just teaching about cancer care and
a way to facilitate palliative care.
Yeah,
and
life
teach,
after death.
Yeah, new doctors about what the kind of feelings with working with patients are.
Doctor-patient sensitivity, absolutely. And it was such a great project, but it never had the ability or the chance to go anywhere because it was so much money and it was so hard to move it around. So we figured, well, let's make it into a movie. Let's get the message out. And so that's where this all sprang from.
Now, what's the moral to the story?
The moral of the story is that life isn't predictable. You can't control it, and no matter what you do, something's going to happen. And it's kind of a coping mechanism. It's a way to say that things are going to happen in your life that you can't necessarily control. And the people around you are going to be able to make up exactly what's happening in your life. It's not so much personal decisions so much as it's a group collaborative decisions and the way your life plays out.
Now, how long did it take to shoot?
We started about a year ago planning, and then around January we broke down, around Christmas time, we broke down everything we were working on, the script and everything, wrote a new script, started fresh. We did pre-production from about January until March, and March 11th was our first day of shooting. And we shot for exactly 1 month. We ended April 11th, so yeah.
Well, I wish you guys the best. David Jeffries, Meg Mealy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So every year a design is chosen to be the logo of the Student Expo, and this year Katie Daup sat down with the lead designer and found out what her inspiration was behind this year's logo in Envision and Evolve.
Well, my first question is, what is the meaning behind the logo?
It was just a process of coming up with the slogan, and I guess the logo represents the slogan. So when I started the logo, they didn't give me a slogan to design. I had to come up with that. And I had to think about the expo and what it might mean and past slogans that they had, and I wanted to do something a little different.
Is it more difficult to be creative on a deadline?
Yeah, the deadline was actually not so bad here, but I would say to be creative on a deadline, I think it's easier to be creative on a deadline because if you give me a project and give me months to do it, I will not start today. I mean, I will start a week before it's due. You've got to have the motivation of a deadline, I think, for a lot of what I do, especially as a visual communicator over a designer. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely trying to appeal to students before anyone else. And
have you gotten much feedback from students?
I haven't really heard directly from students because I don't know that a lot of people really see it until the day of the expo. I think it's definitely on promotional material, but. From people I've talked to seem to like it. It's different from the ones in the past, which I think is cool about the expo. It changes every year.
Thanks, Katie. One group here at the Expo is aiming to improve safety while driving through work zones in the state.
Trying to do it through billboards. Patrick Fry is a civil engineering graduate student here at Ohio University, and he's here to talk about his transportation research. Thanks so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you, Christy, for having me today.
Great. Well, how is your research trying to improve safety in work zones?
We find that in order to improve safety in work zones, you first need to be able to catch the driver's attention and get them to realize that the road is different and that there's something different going on, because with work zones, you have workers out on the side of the roadway, and that's an unusual condition. In order to protect them best, you need drivers to slow down and travel safely.
Now, if you're getting them to slow down, how is your project finding out research about that?
Well, first we used a public survey, and we surveyed people to find out what would be the best color combination to use on the billboards in order to collect drivers' attention.
And what were the results?
We found that a yellow background with black text and a fluorescent yellow-green background with black text were both good backgrounds to use, but we recommend that the yellow background be used because it's already used for general warning signs on traffic signs used today.
So you now know that this color combination attracts drivers' attention. What is the next step?
The next step is that we conducted a simulator study in which we looked at also using different safety slogans as well as different graphics, and then we put the billboards on different sides of the roads, and in total we'll be able to say which billboard is most effective at increasing work zone safety.
Okay. Well, Patrick, so much for being here with us. And we met up with Fry earlier this week to find out what the driving simulator is doing and how the research is collected for the study. Check it out.
So now at this point you'll have to indeed start the car as you normally would, and then at that time you can go ahead and put it into drive and go ahead and drive a little slowly.
Okay. So this is not safe practices. I should be driving with two hands, everyone. Just putting that out there. Okay. Oh my goodness. So it is like I'm actually driving right now. Now, are there any turns or curves
No.
or anything we have to
For
encounter?
our scenarios, we wanted to keep it as simple as possible to be able to just say that the effects that the driver had and they encountered were just due to the billboards and that they acted because of the billboards. In each of the scenarios, we had the people drive through first a control work zone, so we had kind of the baseline driving conditions. And then at that time, they drove past different slogans. And slogans we tested were slow down work zones, see orange, drive slow. We also tested my daddy works here and slow down, save lives.
We are about to pass another sign over here, and this is one of the other billboards that they tested. That's let them work, let them live.
It's very exciting to think that the work that we're doing here at Ohio University with our driving simulator is going to one day impact people's lives potentially throughout the state of Ohio and also potentially throughout the nation and even potentially internationally.
Now, the hope is to get the final results from the driving simulator study by the end of June, and then even by next spring you might see that final billboard design out on Cleveland roadways. And now we're going to shoot it over to Tanner Smith, who's out on the floor. What new project have you got to tell us about, Tanner?
Thank you very much, Christy. I found yet another interesting project, and this is Stephanie Fisk. She's a junior art history major. And Stephanie, not too much art here, or is it art? It's a bed. Kind of tell me what's going on.
It's definitely art. I'm very interested in making these environments where, let's just say, have you ever been at a restaurant or something and you're having a really good conversation with someone, relative, friend, someone you don't know, and you forget everyone else is there? That's what I'm trying to do with this piece. I create this intimate relation between possible strangers, friends, family members, just by laying in a bed. And then when you lay down on the pillows, there's actually an audio component. And one side is a his, the other side is a hers. And they're talking about this relationship that they're in, grievances, memories. Sometimes they remember the same event differently even. So that's what I'm working with. I'm trying to get people thinking about intimacy in a different way, especially in this social media obsessed culture we have, and trying to negotiate those two things.
Okay, now you mentioned that it has like an audio component within the pillow.
Yep.
Kind of explain that a little bit more and why you did that.
Well, I deconstructed the pillow. I wanted to make sure that people would get involved with the piece. And if it's just a bed, people are going to be much less likely to want to get involved. But when you put this cool talking aspect into it, it makes it a little bit more interesting. I also wanted to weave the narrative of the relationship in. So I thought audio would be the easiest way to do that. So I just bought some pillows. I kind of gutted them out a little bit, have a foam insert in there with a wireless speaker. It's connected to an MP3 player, and you get to hear their stories.
Okay, now, from what you've heard from everyone around here, kind of what's the reaction to this? Are people enjoying it? Do they think it's weird? I mean, what have you been getting from everyone?
I've had a couple different reactions. Most people are a little hesitant at first. We'll kind of slowly crawl in the bed, test out the waters, make sure no danger is going to happen. Then they lay down and they're like, oh, this is really cool. I see what you're doing here. So, I mean, it's the best reaction that I can get. Hopefully people are still thinking about it after they leave.
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to have to take a lay down in it just to see what's going on here. Mike, I'm going to take a quick nap. You know what? Back to you, buddy.
Thanks, Tanner. You have your $1 million idea. It's packaged and ready to be introduced to the world. Now, the tricky part is finding potential investors. That means coming up with an unbeatable business plan. This year, the Expo is debuting a Shark Tank competition where each group has about 10 minutes to present their idea to a panel of judges for the chance at winning up to $500. Reporter Aaron Laviola sat down with two groups to discuss their inventions, but will their creative plans be able to win over a panel of potential investors?
We turn any object into an icon for all of the knowledge that we have online about that object. If you take a picture of this, you'll know everything that's written on the internet about this. You have the world we live in, and then you have another parallel world that's online. Like anything I can pick up or touch in the world, there's info about it somewhere online. And instead of living in these two separate worlds, we should just put this world on top of this one.
This is the first time that anyone has ever been able to give a pilot a visual indication of where wake vortices are. So every time a plane flies through the air, it can leave behind it 3 minutes of a horizontal tornado that could damage or cause problems for another plane that enters that airspace. This is actually the altitude strip. And the pilot uses this altitude strip to determine what altitude the plane is currently flying at. And I can jump to see what the pilot sees.
The projects are ready. Now the next step, learning how to compose a good business pitch.
It's the vision behind the technological achievement that you've made. People have lived a long time without your solution. Why would they choose it today?
What we would like to be able to do is to get more funding to further the research.
This is our dreams. This is someone's afternoon to judge us. This is our dream to be judged.
Thanks, Aaron. Now, Tanner Smith is out on the floor looking for more million-dollar ideas. Tanner, what have you got for us?
And I found one more production and one more kind of crazy project, and this is Kristen Greeneisen. She's a first-year grad student, and let's get this right, production design technology. Now, that's a mouthful. Kind of tell me what that is just before we get into what your project is.
Sure. It's in the School of Theater here at Ohio University, and it's essentially any sort of theater work that isn't acting. So the people behind the scenes, the ones who are designing the sets and costumes and props, and then making it happen.
Okay, so what all does that entail? Let's get into your project here. You got some of these mini dresses. I don't know if you made these for some miniature people or what's going on, but I mean, just kind of explain these two dresses here.
Sure, this was a final project for a patterning class. So the idea is that we're working in half scale. So this is exactly 1/2 of a size 10 form. And so we're given a picture to start with, and then essentially we're just allowed to then make that design happen. So we take the picture, and then from that, either draping directly on the form or drafting a pattern flat, we just then use that to create our dress. And this is a half-scale mock-up of this design here.
So you're saving a little bit of material. That's the first thing here. And now you have this book, and you have a couple different designs over here. Just kind of explain what they are and what that work is for.
Sure. Well, the stuff up here is from a paint and dye class, and so we have screen printing, stamps, and stencils. Over there, the tie-dye looking thing is a shibori technique, which is Japanese, sort of a bound resist, but it works the same way that tie-dye does. And then these big books down here are from a costume history class, and that's our final project for that. We had to go into the library and find examples of historical garments in all these different time periods and then compile them into these huge binders. So I spent a lot of time at the library, but it was a really rewarding project, and it's a great reference material for someone like me who will design costumes in the future.
Okay, so you have future design on your mind, and obviously a lot of history goes into this. I mean, how much really goes into creating just a single costume?
Quite a bit. You start with research. You have to read the play, get a feel for the character, because a lot has to do with not only what the pieces are, but how they're worn. You know, is this person really wealthy? Are they poor? Does their suit fit them right, or does it, you know, did they just buy it off the rack or from a thrift store and it looks really dirty, or whatever. So a whole lot of different factors will go into creating a realized design for any given costume.
All right, now I gotta ask, all the way down here, you have a llama. It says you can touch it, but I mean, what was this? Just real quickly, what was this?
This is a puppet for a crafts project. So it's learning how to create things out of foam and fur. So yeah, his name is Lloyd, and he's a puppet, and you're more than welcome to play with him if you want.
All right, Mike. Well, me and Lloyd and Kristen are all going to be hanging out for a while. For the last time, back to you, my man.
Thanks again, Tanner. Well, all of this wouldn't be possible without the support of OU's administration. Reporter Krista Lamandola sat down with a few administrators to chat about the benefits of the Expo.
There are a number of ways in which it affects Ohio University. One is that it allows our students to have an opportunity to do research, and that's a really great experience. At this Expo, there will be 600 students who will participate. Over 500 different projects will be part of the Expo. Secondly, it allows faculty to work really closely with students on their research projects. So it's a very close knit relationship between students and faculty that allows them to get to know students on a one-on-one kind of basis. And thirdly, it allows us to bring prospective students in and community members in to see the kind of research projects that are being done at Ohio University.
The students
get an opportunity to really showcase their work. The reputation of the university depends on research. So the folks who really create the knowledge, they really drive the higher education, the society, the new technology, the new way of really thinking about what we think about life, advancement, from medicine to technology, that everything you can think of that's going to improve our livelihood, they all depend on research.
It's an interest, it's a curiosity, it's creativity, and interest in research that would probably get a student to participate in the Expo.
Thanks, Krista. Now, we've covered everything from the participants to the logo to the staff. But what about those awarding the prizes? The judges have been judging the projects from around 9 a.m. to 11:30. But what does judging the Expo entail? I'm joined now by Eric Williams and Dr. Teresa Franklin. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Now, what is the thought process to judging the displays here at the Expo?
Well, I think from my perspective, we're really looking at how they present. Can they explain the project? Can they take us through what the original idea was to the methodology and how they performed the research, and then the data that they collected, and then what did that data actually bring to the conclusion, and then recommendations for future research.
Now, how long does each presentation last?
Each presentation lasts 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So you have a very short window to get your idea across.
Now, we've covered everything from an autonomous snowplow to a feature-length film. So how do you put those up against each other? How, is each display judged the same?
Well, we are looking at their presentation process, and so we do look across that presentation, but you have to realize we're each judging in an area where we have some expertise, and so that does help typically. So you are really trying to be as fair to every single person who's part of this expo.
Now, how are the judges selected? Was there a criteria that you had to meet, or?
It's a volunteer judging group, and every year they ask for volunteers from the faculty and staff, and if you want to come in and give your expertise to the judging process, you're more than welcome.
Now, so far, the projects that you've seen here, has there been any wacky ones, any crazy presentations?
Well, I've really enjoyed the virtual games that they prepared that a lot of students in engineering and some of the biological sciences are creating. There was a wonderful, several wonderful ones in psychology as well. So I think, you know, across the board, these are outstanding.
And the ones that stick out to me are the ones that bridge different disciplines. I love to see learning, education, video, and physical therapy. I love to see the projects that are combining theater and environmental awareness. I mean, it's so great that all of Ohio University is here, but then we're also bridging out across different disciplines.
Right. Now, the presentation, of course, is important. Now, why is the methodology important to each project?
Well, we want them to actually follow a rigorous process in the methodology, and the fact that they often have protocols that they're following. We want to be sure that they're collecting data that is valid and reliable data. And so for us, as researchers ourselves, we're really looking at that methodology to see are they learning how to do research, and can they do this research over a period of time and then come to some valid conclusions.
And I think that's where the overlap is between the creative and the research, because just like a scientist will set out with an idea that they're trying to prove or disprove, so will an artist, and they'll come at it from, I have a specific idea, and can you create a methodology that allows you to achieve your vision? And
a lot of them are very practical, don't you think? They're looking at practical applications of the research for the education, for industry, things of that nature.
Okay, Eric Williams, Dr. Franklin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And that does it for our coverage right here on WOUB2, but that's not the end of the Student Research and Creative Expo. Doors are open until 2 p.m., so be sure to stop by and get your dose of projects, exhibits, and posters. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.